Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I've just got to tell you about this. It's something that you don't see in the mainstream media, that's for sure. So let's find out what's going on, because this is important to all of us. This deals with our freedom of speech, and what happens with this is going to color the battle for freedom of speech. So this came out on August 14th. I already did a report on it before. But the House Committee on Homeland Security, chaired up by Benny G. Thompson and Mike Rogers, not Admiral Mike Rogers, though, unfortunately, they issued a subpoena to HN owner Watkins, Jim Watkins. And so the subpoena is here. And the date that he was subpoenaed to come in to testify at a deposition, which deposition usually means not public. So we kind of knew this was coming, but we were hoping it would be public. And this is when it's supposed to be. And as I'm recording this, it is September 5th, and it's already 10:30. So I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to happen before I did this. I assume it's happening. It's just not public. And so I wanted to make sure that before, I did this whole report. It's very interesting that this was done as a deposition, whereas the others were hearings, like for Facebook and everything. They were open hearings where people could watch it. And so that's what the complaint is. We have here, this is from Jim Watkins. Okay, this is his Twitter feed. And he says, "We've retained Mr. Benjamin Barr to assist us in attending the congressional hearing. In the interest of transparency, here's what we submitted to the committee in preparation for the deposition." And I'm sorry, it's kind of early in the morning. I should have done this research last night and I forgot. I don't know if he's related, okay? The Barr, I don't know. So anyway, he's got this right here. And if you go to that, it will take you to this page right here. Unfortunately, when you click this button for read more, nothing happens. But here is a link that will take you to this. And this is his statement that he gave he was going to give this morning. I hope he gave it, but we'll never know because we can't watch. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so he sent this. It was sent September 4th because it was emailed likely. And this is to the Committee on Homeland Security, a 8chan inquiry. And this is what it says. "Chairman Thompson and members of the committee, today James Watkins appears for a congressional deposition addressing your committee's concern over social media companies' efforts to address online extremist content. We have prepared this statement in an effort to assist the committee in understanding how careful and responsible a platform 8chan is." Because the big lie out there is that 8chan is just this Wild West type thing and there are no rules and nobody's in charge. And yeah, that's not true. While Mr. Watkins is empathetic to the victims of mass shootings in America, 8chan has never tolerated illegal speech and has a consistent track record of working with law enforcement agencies when appropriate. After the current disruption of service, 8chan has taken steps to improve its ability to identify illegal content and to act more quickly in doing so. To these ends, it hopes to be of continued assistance to law enforcement officers in times of need. Mindful of tragedies America has faced, Mr. Watkins also believes in the exceptional promise of the First Amendment. 8chan is the only platform featuring a full commitment to free speech, a one-of-a-kind discussion board where anonymous users shared tactics about French democracy protests, how to circumvent censorship in repressive countries, and the best way to beat a classic video game. In this hodgepodge of chaotic discussion, down-home recipes are traded, sorrows lifted, and a small minority of users post hateful and ignorant items. As Justice Hugo Black once noted, the First Amendment provides the only kind of security system that can preserve a free government, one that leaves the way open for people to favor, discuss, advocate, or incite causes and doctrines, however obnoxious and antagonistic such views may be to the rest of us. It is with this in mind that Mr. Watkins is proud to host the only platform compatible with the First Amendment. With these introductory points in mind, we address the issues raised by your subpoena. And here we go. Personal statement from James Watkins. I would like to thank the Honorable Benny Thompson. Okay, you got to use the term honorable. That's how you address them, whether you believe it or not. And the honorable members for inviting me to this sacred House of Representatives. I am proud to be able to help the Congress, I think there should be a comma here, the American people, and the House Committee on Homeland Security. It is indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for myself to be able to participate in whatever capacity I am able. I consider myself a good and faithful American man and promise to do my best to help you solve your dilemma with the hate speech and censorship of minority opinions of voices on the internet. I will say today, contrary to some rather noisy people, that my company is law-abiding and we understand that the restriction of some speech is necessary. Speech that satisfies the emergency test is not protected, is removed once reported, and law enforcement requests are filled vigorously. My company has no intention of deleting constitutionally protected hate speech. I feel the remedy for this type of speech is counter-speech, and I'm certain that this is the view of the American justice system. This may not be a contrary opinion to our friends in other countries. Those across the oceans may feel it necessary to stifle the voice of minority opinions. This is not what I intend to do. Our company has built and maintained a digital forum that is the place where opposing viewpoints and those of minorities, such as the LGBTQ, may express themselves free from the fear of their life. As some are persecuted with even the ultimate penalty in other countries, I am aware that my invitation here was because of some recent mass shootings. I assure you that neither myself nor any of my staff have participated in any of these atrocities. The recent letter and serious nature of it resonate in my soul, and I feel deep despair and heartache for the families of the victims of these shootings, most recently in Alabama and Texas, and other victims worldwide. My company and myself intend to fully comply with the removal of speech that does not pass the emergency test. Currently, our website is offline. This is a shame and something that I am not proud of, since it has censored and silenced the voices of those across our country. Yeah, really, I miss 8chan. It has also censored those in other societies where our forum was the only outlet available to express themselves safely. The French Democracy Board is now silent. The board for Egypt and from some of our oppressed neighbors to the south are examples of this. I am ashamed that they lost their last bastion of free speech and will endeavor to right this wrong safely and effectively in the near future. Boy, I hope so. How does 8chan address online extremist content? Unlike other platforms that have faced controversy for banning relatively innocuous speech, 8chan features a full commitment to the promise of the First Amendment. That is, 8chan recognizes that small categories of unprotected speech exist outside the purview of the First Amendment. These include categories like child pornography, fighting words, and true threats. Where speech posted on 8chan falls outside the recognized protection of the First Amendment, 8chan takes action to remove it or to work with law enforcement requests to unmask the identity of a poster of unprotected speech. Beyond minute categories of unprotected speech remain all sorts of uneducated, ill-informed, and conspiratorial opinions. These remain protected under the First Amendment and protected by 8chan. As Justice Brandeis reasoned, if there be time to expose through discussion the falsehoods and fallacies, to avert the evil by the processes of education, the remedy to be applied is more speech, not enforced silence. 8chan encourages vigorous debate, discussion, and changed opinions as a result of interacting through its image boards. Unlike platforms like Facebook and Twitter, there are no speech police to shut down poorly formed opinions, popular conspiracy theories, or hateful monologues. Instead, this curation is left to thousands of moderators and fellow users with the hope that better reason and enlightened wisdom will ultimately prevail. Why extremism thrives in the current American political landscape remains unknown and deeply problematic. The celebration and exaggeration of victimhood exacerbates social divides, and amped up fear destroys rational debate. 8chan has no silver bullet, no magic cure to end extremism in America today. It knows that censorship and suppression do little to cure underlying societal ills. Thus, it remains committed to the promise of the First Amendment to allow for unfettered free discussion and to work with law enforcement when tragedies occur. What are the operations and organizational structure of 8chan? 8chan is an image board where users can post anonymously on existing boards or on boards they create themselves. An image board is comprised of multiple boards. A board is a collection of threads, which we displayed as a catalog or an index page. Threads contain replies. Users can either create new threads as original posters or OPs, or reply to existing threads on their boards of choice. On 8chan, anyone can create a board using the Create feature. When a user creates a board, he or she becomes a board owner in 8chan parlance. A board owner can add board volunteers to help moderate the board. Using an analogy, 8chan works like a federation, with the 8chan administration as the federal government, each board as a state, and each board owner as a governor. Each board has its own rules, but the one rule every board has to abide by is the 8chan Golden Rule, which states, do not post, request, or link to any content that is illegal in the United States of America, and do not create boards with the purpose of posting or spreading such content. To enforce the 8chan Global Rule without depending on board owners, the 8chan administration relies on a group of unpaid volunteers called Global Volunteers, who are responsible for banning and deleting rule-breaking content site-wide and reporting rule-breaking boards to the 8chan administration. How does content moderation on 8chan operate? 8chan enforces one content moderation rule on the entire website. Do not post, request, or link to any content that is illegal in the United States of America, and do not create boards with the purpose of posting or spreading such content. In 2019 alone, the following items were deleted as a result of content moderation. 92 discussion boards deleted, 47,585 users banned, 132,874 posts deleted. Moderation is mostly done by volunteers. There are no algorithms for content moderation in place. All 8chan moderation relies on human volunteers and one automated bot account called BotMod to remove illegal content and spam, automated or human, based only on keywords. Users can either apply to become volunteers or create a board, which then they have to moderate themselves. These local board owners and volunteers can enforce local rules on their board, but they are required to enforce the 8chan Global Rule. Global volunteers are trustworthy users picked by the 8chan administration to uphold the 8chan Global Rule site-wide, regardless of local volunteer moderation. Additionally, the 8chan administrator can delete, block the name of, and ban entire boards that break the 8chan Global Rule or take boards away from irresponsible board owners who failed or decided not to enforce the 8chan Global Rule. When logged into a volunteer account, the user in question has access to the moderation action buttons, which appear on every post on the board his account is tied to, or on every post site-wide in the case of global volunteers. Volunteers can also see a user's truncated IP address hash. On 8chan, all IP addresses are hashed to make users anonymous and protect their privacy. Under normal circumstances, there is no possible way for a volunteer to figure out a user's IP address from their hash. The purpose of the hashed IP is for volunteers to be able to see which IP hash created which posts and take action accordingly without being able to de-anonymize or dox a user. A volunteer can also click on the IP address hash and see all active, still not deleted posts made by that address on the board they are on. Posts that have been deleted cannot be seen, and post histories cannot be seen across boards, only per board. Usually, global volunteers only enforce the 8chan global rule on user-created boards. Sometimes they will help with content moderation if a user-created board is getting spammed. The dashboard of global volunteers has more moderation action buttons than a board owner account. For example, they can delete a user's entire post history across all boards on the website, while board owners can only delete all posts by a user on their specific boards. Global volunteers also handle spam that is deemed to have been caused by a bot when it affects more than one board at a time. Again, a moderation bot exists for the purpose of removing automated or human spam that always follows a similar pattern. Some of the board owners also choose to run their own moderation bots on their boards for different purposes, usually repeated spam. The bots are never deemed reliable enough to operate on their own without human supervision, and they must be adjusted periodically as spam changes constantly to beat the keyword filters in place. How does 8chan interact with law enforcement? 8chan has regularly obeyed subpoenas and lawful requests from law enforcement agencies. This interaction largely occurs through email. Over the course of 2019 alone, 8chan staff have complied with 56 U.S. law enforcement requests. Before the Christchurch incident, 8chan used to receive a much lower number of law enforcement requests, about 1 or 2 a month, sometimes none. Foreign law enforcement requests are usually handled through American authorities. Included in this packet is Exhibit A, and we don't get to see that, by the way, of course, because it is a confidential list of communications with United States law enforcement agencies from 2017 until today. In each and every instance, you will see examples of 8chan's compliance with law enforcement requests. 8chan strives to provide helpful information to law enforcement agencies where appropriate. So see, they're being very, very transparent on this. How has 8chan responded to specific acts of violence linked to the site? After the Christchurch incident, it added more global volunteers from different time zones and gave them specific instructions to ban true threats. And under this 18 U.S.C. Section 875C, or solicitation to commit a crime of violence under 18 U.S.C. Section 373. When the El Paso shooting happened, 8chan was in the midst of developing a way to restrict certain parts of the website during a state of emergency. The board would either be put into a read-only mode where users would not be able to post, or a restricted mode where they would not be allowed to post any files or use the Tor network there. It is currently working to expand on these models. Notably, after the following events, deletion or takedown times were as follows. I think this is really revealing here. Christchurch, it took 2 hours and 49 minutes for them to take it down. The Poway shooting here was 12 minutes. The El Paso was 45 minutes. Okay? And what is the current status of 8chan? At this time, 8chan is offline voluntarily. The site may come back online. I sure hope it does. But only when 8chan is able to develop additional tools to counter illegal content under the United States law. What is 8chan's interaction with other technology companies? 8chan has limited contact with Silicon Valley technology companies or their staff. Good thing, huh? NT Technology has contracts with Aaron, Two Cows, and Epic. There has been no sharing of information or networking or any joint effort with any other Silicon Valley technology companies. Furthermore, 8chan has had no contact with any companies or staff in charge of alternative social media websites. What are 8chan's future plans? If 8chan comes back online, that's kind of scary. If, please say when. It will be done when 8chan develops additional tools to counter illegal content under the United States law. If 8chan returns, staff would implement a way to restrict certain parts of the website during a state of emergency, in which case any board in question would be put in a read-only mode until it would be deemed safe enough to enable posting again. It also looks forward to working with the federal government to improve the law, making reporting and engagement with law enforcement agencies easier. Toward this end, 8chan includes its list of suggested legislative reforms as Exhibit B, and also we don't get to see that either. Sorry. And so the conclusion, 8chan has strived to be the only image board fully compatible with the First Amendment. At the same time, it has worked responsibly with law enforcement agencies when unprotected speech is discovered on its platform. No single platform can sensibly prevent all hateful, illegal, or threatening speech. It can only act in due time to remove it. 8chan's record demonstrates that it is a responsible platform, carefully protecting free speech and assisting law enforcement agencies in appropriate times of need. And that is his opening statement. Okay, so that's what you didn't get to hear him say because it's in a deposition and it's closed, private, so you can't hear. Yeah. So I wanted to point that out to you. I also wanted to point out this post because this shows, that the Christchurch post was undeniably deleted. This is proof from the database itself since the public board logs are down. Anyone else with a screenshot of the board log that day will be able to corroborate this. So, they have information. They've got it documented. Whether the powers that be are going to accept that, well, that's a different story. Well, now, CodeMonkey here, for those who don't know, CodeMonkey is the one who owned the Q Research Board. He is the board owner of that. So, this is what he has to say. We have formally requested the 8chan committee hearing to be public, but whether it is broadcast will ultimately be decided by the Homeland Dems. If you want the hearing to be public, consider politely asking the committee members on Twitter. And I'm sorry, this didn't come out until really late last night, so I didn't get it out to you. It wasn't in time, but they had no intention, because it was a deposition, they had no intention of having this hearing public in the first place. Okay? Definitely not there. But these are the people that, were responsible for it, and CodeMonkey put that out. So things are still not good. We're not going to find out what happened here. So I went to YouTube to see if maybe possibly they had it live. No, they don't. And again, because it was a deposition, I was pretty sure that it wasn't going to be, but I just wanted to wait and see what would happen. Anyway, and so, yes, I also checked out C-SPAN, but C-SPAN says no hearings covered this week. So, yeah, I guess they're going to have to wait until next week for something to come up. But yeah, everything's kind of just blockaded. And I think there's a reason for that. They definitely don't want people hearing what Jim Watkins has to say, because what he has to say is going to exonerate 8chan. And they don't want to hear that. They don't want anybody to hear that, because the big thing is, folks, they had to shut down Q. And this is the way they did it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the bad actors, the shills that were over there on 8chan, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them had 3-letter agency initials behind their names. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're the ones that posted those manifestos on there, the one for the Christchurch and the one for El Paso. I wouldn't be surprised if those were planted, because the key was they needed to take down Q, because they thought if they took down Q, it was going to stop the movement. And it's not. It never will, because the movement is not about Q. It's about finding the truth. It's about learning to go and find documents like these, like subpoenas, where they subpoena people like this, and documents like these that are entered into information, like this statement here that clarifies that 8chan is not a threat to Homeland Security. And, it's trying to stifle these types of people and this information. But it's not going to work, because we woke up and we understand how to do this now. We've learned how to keep track of what our government is really doing. And that way, they can't slip things by us like they were. Because we know now. And we're awake and we're watching everything they're doing. So, that's what I've got for you on this one. You know, it's near and dear to my heart. I know not everybody on here is an 8chan fan or even spent much time on there, but I'm kind of going through withdrawals. And I know I've been to 4chan a few times. It's just not the same. It really isn't. And, you know, the Q Research Board was so focused, and that's really what people were all together as a community doing. It's just not the same on 4chan. I mean, some of them are still doing their work over there, obviously. But the community just has a different feel to it on half-chan. So, yeah, just not my thing. But anyway, I miss the guys on 8chan. That's all there's to it. I wanted to share all that with you because I think it is very important. Because if they can silence this one true platform that actually does have free speech, you know, what's it going to mean for our First Amendment right? It's coming down to it where they put Facebook and those people in open hearings so everybody can hear their lies, but you won't put somebody like Jim Watkins in an open hearing. Yeah. Anyway, I just needed to share this with you because it is very important to all of us. So let's wait and see what happens. I hope maybe some of the Republicans are going to give some indication of what happened during this time, during the deposition. I mean, they can't share much, but I do hope they share some things to kind of give us an idea of how it went. Anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.